Celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting, 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Wednesday, November 2nd, 2016, and here are some of today's trends in the news. On the market fronts, not a good day. Not so good in Asia, not so good in Europe, and not so good in the United States, and not so good for oil, but good for gold. So, what happened? Let's see. Oil prices tumbled. They were down, by the way, over 3% at one point. On Wednesday, after a record weekly build in U.S. crude stocks added to worries of all-time highs in OPEC production that suggested little could be done to rein in a global glut. Wow, blow me away, man. Whew. How long we been saying that? Hey, but they said it now, so it must be true. So what do we have? This is the news of the buildup, 14.4 million barrels for the week ending October 28th versus analysts' expectation for a build of 1 million barrels. It was the biggest ever rise in U.S. crude stocks in a week, overriding a 2012 record. Quote, "This is very, very, very bearish. Nothing else in the report matters," said James L. Williams, energy economist at WTRG Economics in London, Arkansas. And then you look at what's going on. Libya has doubled its output since mid-September. You know how much it's producing? Just a little under 600,000 barrels per day. Before Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton destroyed the place and turned it into a hellhole, they were pumping out almost 2 million barrels a day. In Nigeria, they're pumping up again. The pipelines are back online, so they're back to 2.1 million barrels a day. Again, more supply than demand. Gold. Why did gold prices go up? They hit its high today is $1,309 for the first time since October 4th, a month ago, after the Federal Reserve announced it left interest rates unchanged on Wednesday. Wow, no kidding. Blow me away. And what else? They're also blaming it on the election. They're saying if Trump wins, it'll be good for gold because there'll be uncertainty. And he's not so pro-Fed. And if Clinton wins, then gold goes down. And Real Clear Politics shows it had dropped Hillary Clinton win from 4.6 points on Friday to 2.5 points on Monday. So the market's down because S&P posts 7-day slide as U.S. election fears linger. Fed holds rates steady. And to the reports coming out, the ADP job report said they only added 147,000 jobs in September. In October. The number will be coming out, the official number, on Friday. And ADP is not very reliable, but that's going to really have a big impact on gold and whether or not the Fed raises rates in December. So the Dow is down over 100 points, closed down around 75. And there's no surprise here talking about the worries about the presidential election and the Federal Reserve. However, there is the small matter of the U.S. election to navigate in between now and the U.S. Federal Reserve's next meeting. That's why the statement carries enough room for the Fed to wiggle out of December if economic and financial conditions change and they're concerned about the election. And that's what they're using as why the markets are going down, why gold is going up, and why the fear index, the VIX, the volatility index, is rising. But you know what we say. It's time for your trend alert. Trend alert. Stock market fear index spikes. Is it the U.S. election or the global economy? You read it. What you read here, you will only read with history before it happens, because no one, I believe, is analyzing it as we are here at the Trends Research Institute. So that's what they're blaming for the high volatility. As you will see, it's much bigger than that. And on to some other news. Speaking of oil, Shell and BP see no rebound for oil. Majors adapt for lower for longer crude markets. Plan outline for more spending cuts. Spending cuts is the opposite of growth. And remember, we have a lot of alternative coming in. So this is the beginning of a long slowdown as we see it. Again, that could very well end if there's geopolitical unrest. And that's starting to happen more and more and more. And what else do we have here today? Malaysia tilts away from U.S. and signs big deals with Beijing. Yep. Big deals with Beijing. And you know what I keep saying? The business of Beijing is business. The business of U.S. is bombs. China and Malaysia signed several trade and investment deals yesterday as China denied it was trying to buy better ties with its southern neighbor. But of course they did. And to show you how things are slowing down, Maersk Group, that huge shipping giant, quarterly profits slumped 43% due to low freight prices, which it said were down 16% year on year. And talking about China, Evergrande sets sights on China's first British real estate takeover with talks to acquire Cala, China's second largest property development. Evergrande Group is in talks to buy the UK house builder Cala Homes in what would be the first Chinese venture into the UK's large-scale house building sector. Yeah, that's right. But I'll tell you, we're going to get rid of them ISISes. I got an idea, and we're going to go after Baghdadi, too. Going to get rid of him. Hey, we got rid of bin Laden. Yeah, and then we're going to make the whole world safe for freedom and democracy. Overthrow Assad. Let's get rid of another guy. Just make up who he is, and we'll do it. But as China buys more, Germany cools towards Chinese investors. Germany's openness to Chinese investment is waning quickly, potentially chilling diplomatic relations between the giant trading partners in today's Wall Street Journal. And then yesterday, of course, the story was backlash over remarks by German EU official. In speech, he called Chinese slit eyes. How nice. And of course, he defended himself. One of the most powerful people in Brussels, Günther Oettinger, has come under fire for reportedly referring to Chinese people as slit eyes and sly dogs in his speech to business leaders in Hamburg. Not reportedly, he did it. It's on video. It's playing everywhere. So, there you got it. Mr. Oettinger responded, it was rather crude expression that was in no way meant to be disrespectful to the Chinese. These little lying guys. Again, China's buying up the world. America's going broke. And one thing I always keep talking about is how there's no fourth estate left to give us real news. There used to be, the fourth estate was the media, the press, to look over the first estate, the second estate, and the third estate, the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the congressional branch. It's dead. We've been talking about it. Our CEO, Gerald Celente, former editor-in-chief of Gannett News, has been writing and speaking about it for many months here at conferences, in the Trends journals, and other places. The reality is in front of us. Gannett breaks bad news to Trump in takeover talks. Newspaper groups ends month-long pause to consolidate U.S. market. Gannett, the newspaper group that owns USA Today, has terminated takeover discussions with Trump, the owner of such titles as the Los Angeles Times and the Chicago Tribune, when at one time they were privately owned and they were great papers. Quote, "It's unfortunate that Gannett's lenders made their decision to terminate their role in the transaction without the benefit of Trump's third quarter financials," the company said in a statement. The third quarter financials? Try these financials. New York Times reports 95.7% fall in quarterly profits. How about those financials? How about the Wall Street Journal is also seeking a, quote, substantial number of applications for a voluntary redundancy program as the business title absorbs the impact of a collapse in advertising revenues that has caused turmoil across the print media landscape. How about Thomson Reuters said today it would cut 2,000 jobs, or about 4% of its workforce. The media is dead. It's turned into a Facebook, Twitter, and Google Alert News. That's why the value of your magazine, the Trends Journal, the Trend Alerts, Trend in the News broadcasts, we suggest are unrivaled. They're getting smaller and dumber. We're growing bigger and smarter. Obama makes late push for Trans-Pacific Partnership deal. Yeah, remember when he was candidate, Obama? He was going to kill that, NAFTA. Didn't like it, folks. Going to revisit it, he says. And of course, he lied. We wrote about it as it was happening during the campaign trail. How they apologized to the Canadians and said, no, that was just for public consumption. But will he make it? We don't think so. And then finally, as I said, the United States business is war and bombing, and the business of China is business. Take a look at the front page of the New York Times, the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal. Basically the same picture. Seeking safety as battle enters Mosul. An Iraqi boy struggles with his livestock on Tuesday after fleeing a village near Mosul controlled by the Islamic State. Remember I said there is no media. It's all consolidated. One picture, one thought, and propaganda. If this was Aleppo, they'd be showing fathers carrying dead little children from the destruction from the Syrian and Russian Air Force, trying to get rid of ISIS over there and America's moderate rebels. But when America's involved in the murder, along with its coalition of the killing, we have pictures of fine young lads with their livestock. Yeah, livestock. And then, of course, just to close up on a high note, yes, the presidential reality show, coming down to the wire. Front page story here in the toilet paper, whose profits are down 95% in the last quarter. Black turnout drops, boding ill for Clinton. African Americans are failing to vote at robust levels they did 4 years ago in several states that could help decide the presidential election. How come the blacks aren't voting? Well, of course, they voted for for Obama, because he was black, so I can understand that. And why aren't they voting for Clinton? Could it be because Slick Willie Clinton wrote about it in Trends 2000 and in the Trends Journal since it's been happening, back in 1994. The Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994. Yep. Provided fundings for tens of thousands of police officers, drug courts, and mandated life sentences for criminals convicted of a violent felony after 2 or more prior convictions, including drug crimes. It mandated life sentences that were known as 3 strikes and you're out. Yeah. And who's in most of those jails? In the jails that have more people than any place else in the world? A lot of minority folks. Guess they don't like the Clintons. Oh, and all you Bernie fans? Yeah. You're BS Bernie. He voted for that too. But that's only history. But with the Trends Journal, Trends in the News, and Trend Alerts, it's history before it happens. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's Trends in the News.